Don't you hate it when you have those painful, frustrating practice sessions where you feel like you're not making any progress at all? Well, in this video, I'm going to tell you one simple trick that will make it so you never leave a practice session with that feeling ever again. My name is Josh Gu, and I'm taking my years of experience learning, teaching, and performing, and sharing all of my best clarinet and music tips so you can get more out of your practice, and most importantly, have fun. You can learn more about all of my many resources at quickstartclarinet.com, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit the bell to get notified when I post new videos. As I'm releasing this video in the first few weeks of 2025, I think it's a perfect time to be sort of resetting our practice routines, kind of getting some good practice hygiene going, setting ourselves up in the new year to have a fantastic year of clarinet playing, music making, and good practicing, which is going to be the fuel for all of those good things from the year. I also am really excited to be telling you about one of my winter break projects that I had a lot of fun working on. I put together a short little ebook called A Practice Manifesto, How to Be Effective and Efficient in the Practice Room, and it goes over all of my thoughts on how to practice effectively and efficiently so that you can have a great year of practice. In the Practice Manifesto, I bring up the idea that I'm talking about in this video several times because it's really important and really significant. But in the Practice Manifesto, you can see sort of how that fits into the larger framework of how to practice, why we practice, kind of setting up the process of practicing so that it can be really effective through the whole thing. So if you enjoy this video and enjoy the tip that I have here to remove frustration from your practice, then you'll love A Practice Manifesto, which you can get at quickstartclarinet.com/practice manifesto. It's super duper affordable. I wanted to make it really easy to get out to people. It's a downloadable PDF, so you can print it and you can hang it on your stand and have those reminders in real time as you're practicing. Because as I was introducing this video and saying that this tip that I'm going to be talking about here in a moment will help you to never leave a practice session feeling frustrated or like it was pointless ever again, that's actually only true if you remember to implement this tip. So if you're able to print it out, put it on your stand, that'll be a great way to remember that. So again, go to quickstartclarinet.com/practice manifesto to check that out if you're interested. Now, how can there possibly be one thing that's going to make it so you never have a frustrating or unsatisfying practice session again? Well, I'll give a little wiggle room that it's one thing that can be applied in many different ways. So there's actually a lot of things going to it, but the kind of philosophy and idea behind it is always just the one thing. But first, let's talk about what makes a practice session feel so frustrating and so unsatisfying. Most of the time, frustration and kind of that suffering comes from when we have expectations and those expectations aren't being met. So thinking about a practice session, we sort of go in and we're like, I'm going to learn this piece or this page of this piece or this challenging phrase. Like, I'm going to master that in this practice session. So the first thing to do is maybe don't have such high expectations, because then you go in, you work on it, and you're expecting by the end of this, I should be able to do this, and it doesn't look like it's going to come together, and you get frustrated. So the solution to that is to simplify your expectations a little bit, lower those expectations, and just say, I'm going to work on this. Accept however far you get, accept wherever you're at on it. Don't have expectations for how much you're going to practice it or how well it's going to be by the time you're done practicing. Just have the expectation that I'm going to work on it. Then, just purely by having worked on it, you've fulfilled that duty and you've done what you wanted to do. Now you'll get into your practice with that sort of simplified and managed expectation in mind. You'll be doing your practice and you'll play it and you'll try it and you'll play through and you'll make a bunch of mistakes and be like, oh, I made a bunch of mistakes. I need to go back. I need to do it again. I need to fix those mistakes. You do it again. Maybe some of the mistakes get fixed. Maybe there's some new mistakes, but it's still not what you wanted. So you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again, and slowly you start to have that insanity creep in of the practice room of doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results, and driving yourself crazy. that probably, unfortunately, sounds like a pretty familiar kind of practice session to most people, I think. So what do we do instead? We do a rep. It doesn't go the way we want. We notice a bunch of mistakes. We find those opportunities for improvement. That's great. Now what we need to do is simplify it so we can fix those things and not have those mistakes happen. And that's kind of the one magic word that I want you to remember from this video, and that's to simplify. Whenever you're feeling frustrated in whatever you're doing, simplify. Expectations are too high, you didn't accomplish everything you were expecting to or thought you should be able to, simplify. Lower the expectations, simplify the expectations, simplify what you think you should be able to do, meet yourself where you are. In the reps, you think you should be able to play this, you're wanting to be able to play this, you keep doing it, and you know you should be able to play it at this tempo. Simplify. Slow it down, do a smaller chunk, do something that you know you're able to do. If you're trying to do 30 pieces and feel overwhelmed because you can't do that many, simplify. Sure, maybe eventually you'll have to do all of them. Plan it out so you can make it manageable, 2 or 3 pieces a day, 5 pieces a day, whatever it may be. Simplify the amount of work you're doing and it'll feel more satisfying. There's all of these different ways that we can be simplifying, and those are the things that are going to make it so that we don't feel frustrated and don't feel like giving up and don't feel like our time was a waste, because we aren't trying to accomplish everything perfectly. We're simplifying it down to something that we actually can accomplish. And the beauty of this is it's going to yield infinitely more productive practice as well. Because you may be thinking to yourself, okay, that's great. I can simplify it down to half speed or a quarter speed, but that's not what the performance is going to be. And I need to figure out how to be able to play it in the performance. I know this is hard to know and hard to believe until you experience it, but doing even 90% of your practice leading up to a performance at half speed is going to make a more satisfying and a more in control performance, if you're doing it in the right way, than spending 100% of your time at tempo, or even 90% of your time at tempo with a little bit of slow practice here and there. That will yield a worse performance. And it's one of those things that, again, you can't believe until you try it. So I encourage you to try it on a performance that you have coming up. Take some of the fast, tricky stuff and force yourself to do it slowly. Simplify, 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 smaller chunks, slower tempos, feel really comfortable and confident and in control with it. And in your practice, that will remove the frustration, because you won't be like, oh, I can't play it fast enough. I can't play it that many notes that fast in that amount of time. Instead, you'll be thinking, okay, 4 or 5 notes at a time, I can do that at half speed. No problem. And you're doing really good reps, really clean reps that are exactly how you want it to go, just slower and just smaller chunks, just simplified a little bit. And then you start working into more and more chunks and working your way through it that way. But I challenge you to focus on simplified practice. Try to avoid frustration, like at all costs. Don't let yourself feel that frustration burbling up of, oh, I'm not quite getting it. Just another 100 repetitions and I'll be able to do it. Instead, every time that little inkling of frustration comes in, be like, nope, Josh said simplify. I'm going to go a little bit slower. I'm going to take my time. I'm going to simplify it so that I can get it either by doing a smaller chunk or doing it slower, or whatever it takes to simplify it so that you can really get it. And try for a whole leading up to a performance on whatever tricky thing. Do that diligently, and then you'll believe me when I say that doing that simplified practice is infinitely more productive and effective than going crazy, banging your head against the wall, doing the fast reps. But again, you won't believe me until you try it, so give it a try. And actually, that's all I got for this video, is just to tell you to simplify. Every time you're feeling frustrated, simplify, and you'll never feel frustrated again. And I think your practice will actually be pretty productive and effective. Speaking of effective and efficient practice, if you're interested in learning a whole lot more about it and getting some of the neuroscience behind it, some of my favorite frameworks for sort of laying it out and working you through the process, and kind of step-by-step referenceable resource that you can go back to again and again, then go to quickstartclarinet.com/practice manifesto and check out my new short ebook, A Practice Manifesto: How to Be Effective and Efficient in the Practice Room. I think that you'll really love it and really get a lot out of it. And again, it's a pretty quick read and is really implementable and gives you that sort of framework that you can print and follow right on your stand as you're practicing. So I highly encourage you to check that out. Let me know if you have any questions about anything in the comments below. Keep simplifying in your practice. Thank you for watching this video, and I look forward to seeing you in another one. And last but not least, a huge heartfelt thank you to the Dennersons. This is like the Quick Start Clarinet family who supports the channel and helps to make everything that I do possible. If you would like to support the channel and get some awesome rewards in return where we can work one-on-one over video and you can have my full support moving forward on your clarinet journey, then go to quickstartclarinet.com/supporter.